Hey, so today I'm going to talk about creating YouTube shorts and TikTok and Instagram videos using n8n. I'm going to walk through my workflow of how I created this. So, so here's a video that was created. I think that for the price and the time that it took to create this is amazing. So I'm going to play it.
Coding could change your mood. Vibe coding is an innovative approach that combines programming with emotional states. It's believed that the energy and environment during coding sessions can affect not only productivity, but also creativity. By aligning coding tasks with positive vibes, developers can enhance their workflow and foster a more enjoyable coding experience. Discover how to harness this in your next project. Discover the power of vibe coding.
So as you can see, this is a very simple 38-second video and was created all by AI. So let's get back to how this was made. Thank you. So here's sort of like an end-to-end of what this workflow looks like. So you come up with a video idea, you let AI generate the script, you also let AI generate the voice, and then you push the voice, essentially save the voice to the cloud. In this case, we're using Cloudinary. And then we map out every single one of the scripts into 6 sections, essentially. 6 seconds. Because mostly a lot of this video generation tools, they can only do 8 seconds. I think VO can only do 8 seconds. So what I want to do is I get a whole script, but I tell the AI, break it into 6 different scripts. So that way I can go and now generate an image, and then I can also generate a video. So from that image, I'll essentially generate a video. And then I do a combination because I now have the audio, I now have the videos. I now combine everything and send it out to Creatomate, where it does the rendering of the video, the audio, and the caption. So this is sort of how my workflow looks like. I can show you real fast what it looks like in n8n. This is a manual one where you click through, but you can also have it generate every 2 days, every second, every minute. Or you can even have it scraping a website and getting some ideas and generating it. But in this case, you just kind of keep it simple. I execute it manually. And then I have an AI tool that's sort of generating my ideas. So I could say, I want you to generate a video about vibe coding, which is what I ended up doing. And I'll show you what that video looks like. And then I get the scripts. I then generate the voices, in this case, with 11 Labs. So I'm using 11 Labs to generate a voice from the scripts. And then as soon as I get all the voice, and I can show you in 11 Labs, I go in 11 Labs and I pick what kind of voice that I want. In this case, I like the grandpa voice. I can go back here.
Tell you what my grandpa told me when I was just 6 years old. Son.
So you get the idea where I get my voice. Let me go back here. Get my voice. I push it into 11 Labs. I push my script of what I want it to say. And then I get everything back into Cloudinary, where now I have my voice. It's all great to go. And then this is why I chunk it into six seconds. So I'm mapping every image, every script, and then splitting everything out. This is just an extra precaution, even though like this code already generates a JSON file that looks good, but this is an extra step to just ensure that my JSON file is great. It's not going to break. And then I push that individual image, individual script into another AI that goes in and generates all the individual screens. So for each script, it generates an image. The next script generates another image. Then I'm using Wave Speed, which essentially it's a lot cheaper. I believe it's built by ByteDance, but in this case, you can also use VO to do that. Let's go back here. Here I go and I generate the image. Usually this image takes time. So what I want to do is wait. So I can wait like 5 minutes or 2 minutes for the images to generate. And then when the image has been generated, it goes from a status of completed. And at that point, you can now go get your image. but you could also have some kind of a loop with a webhook where it's essentially listening and saying, okay, when this is completed, let me know, and then you can continue. But just to keep things very simple and straightforward, you could just wait and you could do some benchmarking to see how long it takes to generate, especially if you're generating, say, a 2-minute video. You know very well, like generating each image is going to take, each one is probably going to take 20 seconds. You do the math. You say, okay, worst case, I'll wait 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, I'll check. If everything looks good, then I'll just go get the image. Same thing with the video. So after I've generated every single image, I now take that image and I make a video out of those images. And same thing, I push it through wave speed, which is all in the same lines of the API that I just shared. And then I essentially do the waiting and I get the video. And then I aggregate everything. So this edit field is almost sort of the same thing. I now want to package it in a nice way so that it's easy for my code, especially in this case, when I say my code, the final piece, which is Creatomate, to essentially generate a JSON file. But then I aggregate it, which is like I get the video and then I also get the audio, and then I aggregate everything, essentially merge it, bring it together. And then that's when I now pass it to Creatomate to actually generate the video. And there's two ways to generate video. One could be through a template, and then the other is like essentially generating the code from scratch. And so this is generating the code from scratch. So it's creating the JSON file, and I'll show you real fast what that looks like. And then you essentially do the same thing. You go to Creatomate and say, hey, now go render this video. You'll also wait because it takes time to generate, render the video. It could take 10 minutes. It could take 5 minutes. It could take 2 minutes. It just depends how big the video that you're trying to generate. And you just do a waiting. And then after it's done, it would say it's completed. And then now you can go get the video. In this case, you can download the video or you can save it to a folder file or to Cloudinary. And so this is sort of the whole workflow of it from end to end. And I will walk through how everything looks like here to kind of show you what that would look like. Is I will go over, actually, first of all, I'll go over what the video looks like. So just kind of telling you that I generated something about vibe coding, and there we go. Now that you've seen the video, it's, I think it's a pretty good video for a micro thing to kind of do this video. I wouldn't say it's one of the best videos out there, but it's good enough. It conveys the message. So let me break down all the tools I used here. I used OpenAI, and OpenAI was used to generate the scripts and the image prompts. I used 11 Labs for the voice. I used WaveSpeed, Flux, and ByteDance to essentially generate the text to image. So the script that came in, the image prompt went in to generate the image. And then from the image, I generated a video, also using WaveSpeed as well. Mostly use this because it's very cheap and just kind of showing that this works. You could use VO. I think VO does very, very good high quality videos. And then I have Cloudinary. It's cheap. It's free. It's simple. I think I use it more for simplicity. And that's why I'm just using it to store the audio. I mean, you could also do the audio in real time to combine it, but it just makes it a lot easier. You generate the audio, you save it somewhere, and you forget about it till you actually do the combination. And then I use Creatomate. I mostly use that because it's just easy to render the video and combining assets, and they do a really good job of sort of walking through that. So I'm going to walk through all of this in details. First of all, how do you get OpenAI API key? You log in, you create an account, you go to API keys on the left panel, and you click on create new secret key, where you kind of go in and create your own secret key. You type in the name of the secret key, you pick service account, you give it a permission, full access to API features. You give it some restriction just based on what you want. For something this simple, just kind of give it access to everything for now, test it out. And as you get to a different level, you start to sort of restrict things. And at that point, it gives you your API key where you can now copy it, and then you can add credits. You have to add credits where you go to settings and click on the billing. If you have no credits, you're not going to be able to use OpenAI's API. Now we get into the n8n aspect of things. Now that I have my OpenAI API key, I can now go into n8n and pick the model, pick the output, And then this is the video you just saw, which is an interesting fact about vibe coding. And so I have a prompt here that just, sorry about that. I have a prompt here where it just kind of says, do something interesting with whatever prompt that I give you. Generate video concepts based on user query. So whatever query that I put in there. In this case, my query was an interesting fact about vibe coding. Then I generate the voice, which in this case is what we have here. So I'm kind of generating the idea, and within the ideas, I'm also generating a voice. And essentially, it goes in, it generates the voice. This is what it looks like. It says, what if coding could change the mood? It kind of goes through all that. So ChatGPT, or in this case, OpenAI, has generated what my whole script would look like. And so it's just one big script. And then I go and I get the voice. In order to actually make 11 Labs work, you copy the voice ID. You notice that mostly what I do here is I use HTTPs. I know in some cases, n8n might already have sending modules for this, but generally I like to use HTTP because it's just a lot simpler, because you really, as you can see here, first of all, you need the voice ID in order to do anything with 11 Labs. You go into 11 Labs, you put in your voice ID. So this is sort of what the URL is, especially if you're using HTTP. You have timestamps, you have the output, it's going to be an MP3, but the most important part here is a voice ID, and then your API key. And these are just the parameters that you give. And within those parameters, and this is sort of what your curl will look like. And n8n has a really good way of just pasting a curl into something and just making it work. I believe if you do this, let's see, HTTP request, and you say import curl. I take this, for instance, and you paste it here, and you go import. It essentially fills everything out for you. This is literally how easy it is. So this is the reason why I use HTTP. It's super easy. Don't have to think about it. As long as you have this curl information, boom, you're good to go. Because it's generated in base 64, it takes everything here, the script that I gave it, you pass it into 11 Lab, then it comes back with this output, this audio output of just looks like a lot of gubbly gash, whatever. But this voice here, this is what you need. This is your voice. And then I take that voice and I chunk it into 6-second interval, mapping it together. So first of all, I clean it up. I remove all the M dash, because OpenAI loves M dash and all kinds of weird stuff. So I clean that up. I remove all that so that the 11 Labs can essentially give me something without dash, up, down. You clean that up, and then you break it into 6 seconds. And really what that code is really doing is if the audio is shorter than 6 seconds, return one chunk. If it's longer, create multiple chunks. So it goes in and creates this sort of output that you see here, which I will show you in general. So it takes all of this, it routes it into this code, and this is what you get back. You get the words, the ID, and the duration. So all these words are actually 6 seconds, and they're all going to take up 6 seconds in there, and it just has all the words. And that's how you kind of get that whole TikTok style where it's sort of popping in and out. This is sort of how you would start to build that. You run it through like a script and says, break it out for me, 6 seconds, and make it work. And then what I do is I sort of format it. And this is just something, as a developer, it's just something I like to do to ensure that it's in the right format. You could skip it because my code here is already generating this JSON that looks right. But I just wanted to format it to just make sure that one more step to ensure that everything looks good. And so I'm formatting it right. It's almost sort of the same JSON. And then I save that, essentially the actual voice, into our Cloudinary. So this is a step where we're here, where I've generated the voice in 11 Labs, and then I'm now pushing it into Cloudinary and saving essentially the whole script, the audio, into Cloudinary. And Cloudinary is taking this, super easy. You need a cloud name, you need an API key, and essentially this is what you would do in Cloudinary to get all this too. And just like I showed you, with the curl, you get the curl, you create the Cloudinary stuff, and boom, you're good to go. And when you upload it, the voice just kind of uploads in. Yeah, so it uploads as a base 64, but really you can actually play it, you can look at it within Cloudinary files. So that's done. Actually, yeah, this is where you sort of do the upload, where Cloudinary, you get the URL. The big part of it, you need your project ID, which in this case is this here. This is your project ID. It's a very unique one. I'm trying to blur it out so you don't see it, but essentially that's what you need in order to push this in there. And you just sort of put raw, upload, true, and in this case it's a base 64, and then you kind of pass in the actual base 64 ID that you passing into there, and boom, you have it, and Cloudinary essentially returns back like a result that this was uploaded. Moving on, this is what it looks like in n8n. Let's see. This is what it looks like n8n. You're passing in the base 64, you're sending it through the body, and it returns back a result saying everything looks good. I've uploaded, and it gives you a URL, so you can actually click on that URL and look at and listen to the voice. For wave speed, this is how I'm generating my text to image. So as we go back here, this is where I'm now here, where I want to request an image from the AI using this. So now I've taken all the image prompt from the AI. It's saying, okay, now is the script. Now I want you to take that script and give me an image prompt that I'm using after I've split everything out. And in wave speed, you get your API key. So then the same lines, you make a payment because you need to sort of have some kind of credit. And then WaveSpeed has this really cool piece of it where I pick a model, and in this case it's a text to image model, and you can test things out. Like in this case, you can see, oh, super realism, high resolution photo, woman smiling, blah blah blah, style is 250, and you can play around with different models and see what it looks like, and then even take the scripts that you've generated, paste it in here, and see what it looks like. And like I said, in general, it's just super cheap to create one. So you can create hundreds of videos for like almost nothing. And same thing with the video. So you can now take the image that you generated and say, okay, now animate that. Oh, I don't really call it animated, but make a video out of it. And it's also really cheap compared to VO. And here you can test it out, type in the stuff, see what it looks like, play it and say, oh, this looks good, tweak it a little bit. You know, you go back to your AI generator and say, tweak it to do specific things. And then when you're done there, WaveSpeed, like I said, has like a status that tells you when the video is completed, which if I take you back here, I request an image. It takes time to generate those images. In this case, there's six images. I push it into WaveSpeed and say, hey, generate the 6 images. I have to wait in order for me to know that the images are completed. You can wait, or you could use something called webhooks, or you could do something called polling. Polling is sort of keep pinging it maybe every 5 minutes or every 5 seconds. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Until it says, yes, I'm ready. And then you pull back the image that you want. But you could also use a webhook where it's sort of listening when it is ready. It sends a message to the webhook and says, hey, I'm done. And then you go get the image. So the first part here is you just requesting the image. And then you wait in, say 5 minutes. And then when you wait 5 minutes, you go check and you actually get the image. So there are 2 things. One of them is like a post and one of them is like a get. And so the getting in this case will see the getting in this case is just going to say, okay, the status is complete. It's going to get it. And then it's going to come back with the actual image URL or the video URL. This is what the prompt looks like to do a text to image. And like I showed up there in WaveSpeed, you can test a lot of different things. And after you kind of get to where you are, you say, okay, this is sort of what my prompt should be. You know, you're an image prompt generator. Your role is to start creating frames for a longer video. And this is how you sort of go from like, I want to create a 30-minute video. I want to create a 5-minute video. I want to create a 100-hour video. And then you let the AI generate the scripts for you in this case. And this is sort of where, you know, this image prompter is doing based on the script that it's getting. So it gets the whole script. It says, okay, now I'm going to chunk it out. I'm going to break it out into different scripts. Yes. this is what you generate. You go from text to image. You pull everything in there, and in this case, I'm generating something about vibe coding, and it is what the full script looks like. And then it essentially breaks it into very smaller pieces, which in this case, I take that same information and I take essentially this is generate an image from a text, which I showed, which essentially takes all of these images and passes in the prompt and puts in the seed, puts in the side, puts in the strength. And if we go back to wave speed here, where is it? Let's see, wave speed. 1 second. Yeah, go to wave speed here. This is a prompt. These are all the sort of different things you can pass into it. And so you're doing exactly the same thing down here, which is you passing in all the information that is needed, and then you passing in the prompt. And that's how you're going to generate the image. You do exactly the same thing with the image to video. You pass in sort of your prompt here that says, serene landscape featuring a tranquil coding environment, a programmer sitting in a cozy sunlight. So this is all done. You're telling it, hey, I want it to be like 5 seconds long, and the AI goes and generates that. When that's done, you want to sort of aggregate everything, because what happens, like, it's going to generate each one. And within the code, you actually just want to bring them into one piece. And so I have this aggregate function that gets it, brings it into one piece. And then the next thing I really want to do is merge everything. So I want to get my audio, and I also want to get everything I've generated here. In this case, I want to get my video, my audio, and then I want to merge everything. And that's why I'm doing this merge. I want to merge the whole thing, put them all together, and essentially pass it on to Creatomate. So Creatomate is a really cool tool. It's what it looks like when you log in. You have a way of generating a template, and there's a bunch of different templates here. You could create a new template. I have a bunch of templates I created. There's one here that I created that you can use. And what's a good thing about Creatomate is, like, you do it 2 ways, where you can have a template where you give it a template ID, you give it your video source, and you give it what the subtitle is, and boom, you're good to go. As long as you pass in those values in there, you get it in. The other aspect of it is you can actually generate this in code. So there are 2 parts to this. You can generate in code, or you can use a template. The advantages of a template is, like, all you're just doing is just passing the video ID and the text, and you already have something, and it's good. The other one is a little more complex, because you have to do that in code. Essentially, you're going to be generating this JSON in code. And so, as you can see, like, each one of this is something. They're all different compositions, and within that, there's an animation, there's an ID. So you kind of have to understand how Creatomate works, and then you just sort of generate all of this in code and pass in the information that you need. And in this case, that's a video, that's a subtitle, and if the video source, in this case, this video source is coming from Creatomate, so that's why it is here. But the video source can just be an HTTP, blah blah dot MP3. So it could be that, and it would generate that source. And in this case, like, none like this exists, but if it did, it would be generating that in there. Walk you through that. So you create the template, where you're gonna Creatomate here. You can, let's see, let's create a new template. So you have template, you go new, and here they have so many different templates. They have fundamentals, they have voiceovers, they have auto subtitles. As you can see, you roll over it, you can see what it looks like and how it goes. They have social media, like, just different templates that are really cool that you could just use. And that, like I said, those are some of the advantages of Creatomate, is that just all these templates are already created, and what you're just doing is just slotting in your video ID in there. In this case, your video HTTPS. And then you have a lot of different things, and it kind of tells you what it is. You can figure out, like, okay, I'm doing something for birthdays, and I want to have cakes and all that stuff. And you could use this as a template. So this is how you create a template. And then, like I showed you, you can also get the JSON code and generate that automatically. If you go back here, I have 2 parts here. One of them is just generating that JSON. As you can see, it generates that JSON in code. And then the other one is sort of using a template. The template ones, you can see, is very straightforward. All you're just doing is passing in an ID into a template. Then you're rendering it. In this case, you wait because sometimes it takes 5 minutes to render because you put in a lot of things together. And then CreatorMate would tell you when it's finished. So you can have a webhook that also listens, or you could do polling. In this case, I just chose to just wait. You wait for it. And then when it's done, you get your CreatorMate ID or CreatorMate URL. It gives you a URL. Take that URL, you download it. And from here, you can decide to just post it directly to YouTube or TikTok. But I just wanted to stop here, but you can do anything with it at this point. So this is sort of kind of going into, do you want to generate this dynamically, or do you want to essentially use a template? So this is, if you're using a template, like I said, for each one, you just passing in the video ID. This is automatic. So in this case, I have videos 0, 1, videos 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all just arrays of videos, and you passing it in, and you can see what the results look like, which is an HTTP result, the MP4. So those are different scenes that you're passing into it. Like I said, and then you pass in the subtitle, and which is this here. And then CreatorMate will sort of figure out how to sort of show the subtitles at each scene. And then the voiceover, what voice are you using? In this case, we stored everything in Cloudinary. The downside of using a template is that it has to be exactly 5 or 6 videos. Like, as you can see, you can't pass in more than, in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 videos. If you have more than 5 videos, it just won't work. If you have more than 10 videos, it won't work. So you have to know exactly what you're passing in. And then the other way, which is sort of the JSON one, is the advantage of that is, like, you can have an hour video, you can have 10 hours videos. And as long as you break it into 6-second chunks or 10-second chunks, it just depends on what you want to do. You break it into those chunks, you're essentially creating your own JSON. You're essentially creating this. Let's go here. Yeah. You're essentially going here and you're creating this in code. And so you're taking everything into your hands and creating this code, ensuring that you have the animation, you have that. So you kind of have to know how CreatorMate works and understand how it works to do that. It's actually not that hard, but it's just an extra step that you have to do to sort of create that by adding animation, adding other variables and blah, 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 and then print out like a JSON file that you now pass into CreatorMate, and CreatorMate will now render it. And this is kind of how you do the rendering. You call this HTTP. And like I said, I love using HTTP because it's just easier. You use the HTTP. Let's go back here. You put in the render ID and it comes back with what the video would look like. It shows you all the videos that succeeded, the ones that failed, and you can click onto it and you can view the video, you can watch it and download it. You can have other steps beyond that to walk through that. So this is how you create shorts. AI is a very, very interesting, exciting place. If you want me to make more of these videos, just let me know. I work a lot with the video tools. I work a lot with n8n. Also use other tools. And in some cases, I even write the code in Python and backend. Also been playing around with vibe coding. Just, comment, let me know what you think. Thank you.